God of War did not disappoint. I was very excited when I received my invites to play 2.5 hours of the beginning of the game, and whoa. If this whole game is as polished and varied as the start that I played, then this is really going to be something special. In this video I want to share a ton of new things I learned about the game, including how the progression works, crafting, XP, the skills, combat, the map and way more, while showing you really awesome new footage. So if you enjoyed that, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go! We already knew that Kratos had an awesome new toy to play with, the Leviathan Axe, and that his son can also help you during the fight, but how can you upgrade Kratos? How does the progression work? So during your adventure you earn XP, but no, that is not used to level up Kratos, but XP is still needed to make him better. With XP you can buy the skills in the skill menu that I sadly have no footage of, as the B-roll I got from Sony only shows some fighting sequences and the armor crafting. I will touch on that a little later in this video. So XP is earned by exploring the world, interacting with your surroundings and also killing enemies. For example, when you find a big stone with some lore, then your son Atreus can read that and then you are awarded with some XP. But also if you kill an X amount of a certain enemy, you get XP that you can then use to unlock new skills. Every time you encounter a new enemy, it's added to your journal, and there you can see the progression of how many of them you've killed. During my first 2 hours I already had a ton of different enemies like wolves, trolls, shadow warriors and way more, showing that the variations of enemies is really insane, especially since this was just at the beginning of the game, and also enemies require different ways to take them out. In the menu you can also view your goals that give you XP for completing them, like use skills to parry enemies' attacks. If you do that 25 times you get XP, then 50 times and then 100 times you are awarded with XP as well. Other examples of challenges are stun grab enemies, light enemies on fire, kill enemies with the execution's glaive, and that is a skill you can unlock. So people that do cool moves will unlock skill points faster to unlock some new cool moves in the skill window. And trust me, there are a ton of abilities in God of War. Again, I cannot show you a window like I would do for other games I covered, but I did wrote a ton of them down and I want to cover them in a separate video, so totally keep an eye out on the channel for that. In short, you have skills for your axe for close combat, for ranged combat with your axe, and trust me, throwing your axe away and then having it return with a single button is super satisfying, and I really believe that this will never get old. There are also some skills for your shield and also upgrades for Atreus. Again, I will go way more in depth on the skills in a video that will be up on the channel later, so you really got a good idea of what abilities you can expect in this game. So going back to XP, you got it from doing these awesome moves, but also by increasing your luck stat. Kratos has multiple stats that you can see here. The strength increases the damage for all these standard attacks, the runic increases both runic attacks and elemental damage, and runic attacks can be done by putting a rune in your weapon. You have one for light attack and one for heavy attack, as you see here on the bottom of your screen as well. If you use them, there is a cooldown for them. And that will bring us to another stat that is on the bottom of the list here. If you increase the cooldown, you can do your runic attacks and summons and talismans more often. We also got the defense stat that reduces all the damage taken. The vitality increases the max health and decreases the severity of the hit reactions from enemy attacks, so the impact of those attacks is decreased. And then, like I already said, luck increases the XP and also hack silver gains, and also perk activation chance. So yeah, not only XP, but also an increase to your hack silver gains, and hack silver is very valuable to craft items. So here you already get a nice taste at the crafting menu, where we see that 5000 hack silver will get you this awesome nice armor that increases the strength and the defense of Kratos. Since I already put a ton of information in this video, I want to go more in depth on the armor upgrading window and the hack silver in a separate video, because yeah, there is a ton of interesting stuff going on here, so keep an eye out on the channel for that video as well. Some interesting things I learned about the combat is something you will see immediately. The enemies have health bars. We first did not see that in the promotional gameplay we saw for God of War, but now we do. So with the health bar you of course know how much damage you do with your different attacks. And that is really nice to know, because during the fight you are always like thinking ahead, always thinking about a new tactic, and knowing that one attack will kill the other or how much damage it does really helps with setting up your next move. As already noted, there are a ton of different enemies that you need to kill in different ways. A great example is the Revenant that easily dodges all your axes but is vulnerable against the arrows from Atreus. So with the square button you command Atreus to attack an enemy in your sight, so after Atreus hit the enemy you can go in and do a ton of damage without the Revenant disappearing. So apart from the varied enemies you will also encounter enemies you already killed a ton, but they can be better than they were before with an upgraded level. You see that on the left side of their health bar, indicating how strong they are. So then you might want to kill, for example, level 1 enemies first and then focus on the stronger enemies, because obviously the level 1 enemies will die sooner. And this again shows you that God of War is really moving into more of an RPG style of game, and I totally like that. So while I can't share any footage, I can tell you a little bit about the map I could see during my play session. So God of War is not an open world game. You have a linear path, but with a ton of optional areas to explore that contain a ton of collectibles. Exploring really felt rewarding, and that was just in the first 2 hours of the game. I can imagine that this will only open up as we continue our journey. A good reason why you want to explore every area in the game is that you can find hex silver to buy and craft new gear. Also artifacts or things like hidden apples, and I hope I pronounced that right, that will increase your health, can be found while exploring the world. On the map you can see how many things you have missed per different area. Every area has its completion rate, so that way you can see, oh, I might want to go back to get all the things I want. I did not see if there was a way to fast travel back to the things I've already visited, but I hope that that will be the case, because going all the way back can be fun. I want to touch a little bit on the Spartan Rage that fails if you do some damage. I think it also fails if you take some damage, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, the bar is under your health bar, and when it's full you can press L3 and R3 to activate it. Sadly there's no new footage of this, but it is truly awesome. You will then use your fist to kill the enemies and feel super powerful for doing so. The first ever gameplay we saw still does a great job of illustrating this move. It's really cool for the variation as well, and you really feel like a badass. Also interesting, and the first thing I saw before playing, and you will see too, is something we did not know before: the amount of difficulty settings and what they are. So just like previous God of War games, this PS4 game has 4 different difficulty settings, although the wording is different than you might expect. The first one is called Give Me a Story, so here the combat is not hard at all, so you will be able to progress the story relatively easy. We also saw this sort of mode in Horizon Zero Dawn. They added this mode later where you suddenly did way more damage and the machines would almost not hurt you, so you can just follow the story and not worry about anything else. Well, God of War has this mode now as well. The second mode is Give Me a Balanced Experience, so the regular normal modes with fun and sometimes challenging combats. The third mode is called Give Me a Challenge, so that would be the hard mode with more challenging combats. But we also got Give Me God of War, so that's like the ultimate challenge. And what is interesting is that it's noted that you can't switch this mode mid-game. So a new game must be started to lower the difficulties. And I'm not entirely sure if this was only for this God of War difficulty mode, but this could mean that there are trophies tied to completing the game on a certain difficulty, because if you cannot turn the difficulty down, you cannot fake that trophy by switching to a lower difficulty halfway through the game and then turning it back up near the end. We saw that in Horizon Zero Dawn as well, where they did not tie a trophy to the difficulty because you could switch that at any time, but then later when they added the New Game Plus mode, where you could not change the difficulty, they suddenly had a trophy that was tied to completing the game on the ultra hard mode. So pure speculation, but it kind of makes sense, so it could be in God of War as well. And there you have it, a ton of new info on the new God of War, new things I learned while playing. But again, I have more in-depth videos on the armor upgrading system and almost all the skills in the game coming your way, so you get a good sense of what to expect. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if the rest of God of War is as polished and varied and the RPG systems are really as deep as I hope that they would be, then this is really going to be a special game. I really can't wait for April 20th, the release date of this game. Subscribe for way more God of War content. Like I said, awesome stuff coming your way. In the meantime, check out my video on a full walkthrough of the latest PS4 updates, and I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.